Good evening. This open meeting of the Historic District Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted to the town's website at www.grafton-mass.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting, I guess it will be allowed to have public comment if we have anyone sign in. I don't see why we wouldn't do that. Please note the meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating, actually all are participating by video conference. All right, Bill, without further ado, I turn it over to you.
Sure.
Thank you, Paul.
Other Bill, sorry, our chairman, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You'll
I was
get
going
your
to say,
chance in
why
a
is it
minute.
being turned over to me?
He's probably going to give
I
it
don't
right
know
over
protocol.
to you anyways.
With a group of only 7 or 8 people, we've got 2 Bills, 2 Pauls.
That's
John.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Rife with confusion.
Right. Well, thank you, Paul, and welcome everybody to a Historic District Commission special meeting. And thank you for joining us. And I think we should open up the meeting. It's 7:04.
Right down.
Bill Zendrup, thank you for sending the information regarding the trees on the common and all the work you've done to evaluate them. It looks as though what was a month or 2 ago is the preliminary results of the trees is pretty much the same now.
Yeah.
What I would like to, Bill, if I can interject for just a second.
Yes, yes.
So I did take the time to go through all of yours. I sent to everyone a copy of the original one that has a listing of the trees by number and their location. So that might help folks to look along.
Right, I've got that.
Yeah, I kind of went through the ones that you've listed here, and I only see 2 that were listed as really definitively removed because they're not healthy regardless of the construction. And then the balance of the trees, and there were 12 all told, it all says because of the construction, essentially. Obviously, you know, Bill Stendrup, that we've kind of changed our approach from what was in the original plans that we sent you guys.
Yes.
And we now know that there's a good base underneath there. So the direction we're looking to go in is to remove that top layer of asphalt and maybe an inch or 2 of the base, just so that we can put in, I'm not sure what material it is that we use to level it, but just to help level it. And then, you know, prune, I believe that's a proper term, the roots that are currently sticking up and already pushing through, but not really, you know, do any heavy excavation of those roots in an effort to try and keep as many trees as we can. So what I kind of would like to do with you, and maybe you can kind of walk us through it. Are there trees there that you feel we could retain if we follow that approach rather than what was in the original plan?
Right. And I think that's probably the best and most pressure relieving question, Paul, that could be asked, because the whole basis of our recommendations for tree removals pending the construction that had been planned was based on our understanding that your excavation was going down into the root zone. So we were talking 36 inches or something. And so the air spading validated that and with the turn or the design change from excavation to now removal of the asphalt and then underlayment of, a few inches of base material on top of that is, in my opinion, more beneficial for the existing root systems. The one topic, and I will get back to it, that you mentioned is the upheavals of the sidewalks. That could be problematic because what we're talking about there are large structural roots that are probably 3-4 inches in diameter, that if you were to prune those, that could destabilize that organism. So not saying that, the idea is altogether out of the question, but a tree that is likely to heave a sidewalk today is likely to heave that sidewalk again. If there, and I need to explore a little further with some colleagues what material we may want to consider laying over those root systems that are heaving the sidewalks that could prevent it and would allow for the pavement. Or what is the material that's being put on top now? It's a stone dust.
Jeff, I'm not sure what we were quoting. For the leveling, after we take off the asphalt, what material were you thinking of?
If we go brick, I would think we'll use stone dust, maybe about an
Okay.
inch of stone dust. If we go asphalt, concrete, or anything else, we'd probably use dense graded crushed stone, which sliced stone dust, but has some larger stone in it than the stone dust.
Okay. And Jeff, forgive me, you're with the design team, yes?
I'm with Graves Engineering. Yes, we are design engineers, and our role in this project is basically to assemble bid documents for the town and for the Historic District Commission. Our design role is pretty limited here, but nevertheless, yes, we are designers.
But you're selecting the materials. And it's a pleasure to meet you too, by the way, virtually, albeit.
Same here, Bill. Same here.
Okay, so with that, the shift in the design then, I'm thinking we're able to look at those trees, which we had said, yeah, they're not going to survive excavation. Now we can, and I was recently involved in a project where pavement was removed from around root systems, and we were monitoring that as it went, because sometimes that pavement can grab the roots, or the roots can be embedded in there, and there's an opportunity then to prune the roots at that time rather than ripping and tearing them out. So I mean, it's a little more delicate, but once you start motoring along with your pavement removal, and all thumbs are up as to the root systems surviving that, then laying a 1 to 2 inch layer of stone dust on top of that shouldn't be a problem. In fact, it's going to improve the air spaces for the roots. Even with the brick laid on it, it's a porous material, more porous than the aggregate that's down now. So, and then the one issue that I did have was with the root guards. I do want to talk to somebody a little further about that from our Gainesville office, who's had more experience with that. I'm a little reluctant to say that that's a great idea, but I don't want to pass judgment until I've had a chance to follow up with a colleague on that.
Yeah.
Jeff Walsh, this is John Morgan. I had a quick question. The pathways as they currently exist, what's the width on them, and do we have an option to make them not as wide to help address the roots that are encroaching into the walkways now?
Sure. They were probably intended to be 8 feet wide, John. But I measured a number of them and they're running about 7 foot 8 inches. Our construction detail for the walkway width on the plans we have now shows 8 feet, but I want to reduce that down to 7 foot 8 inches plus or minus to mimic what's there today. The numbers ran between 7'2" and 7'3" 10 inches. And every inch is critical, in my opinion. I don't want to see the pathways get widened anymore.
From a
I was thinking
handicap
of shrinking
perspective,
them up.
I'm sorry, John, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry?
I was thinking, could we make the width shorter, make them not as wide to help address the root issue?
And my question kind of goes along with that. There are ADA aspects that we have to look at as far as
Well,
width,
yeah,
turning
exactly.
radius. So
I believe with respect to width, grade, turning maneuvers and so forth, ADA should not be a problem. We went through that when we did some fine regrading on the plans that we have produced already.
but would it support reducing the width is what John's question was. I
Yes, I don't see why not. I can double check that. Sidewalks are supposed to be a minimum of 4 feet wide. If there's any obstructions like a utility pole or a sign, there has to be at least 3 foot clear space. We're well above that at 7'10", 7'8". And, you know, you could think about reducing the width. Well, I was gonna say, it would be nice to keep the north-south sidewalk wide because that seems to be the main sidewalk, but that's the one that's more impacted by the roots. So
Mhm.
you know, if you bring it down to 7 foot, 6.5 foot, I don't see an issue there. It's doable is my point. Whether or not the Historic District Commission likes it because it's not the way it's been after all these years, I'll leave it up to you gentlemen.
Bill Stendrup, what do you think that might have for an impact if we were to reduce it by, a foot or foot and a half?
I think any inch you can gain on disturbing the root zones is a benefit. And if we're talking about a 20-inch overdig from the edge to install the root guards, then that's starting to get a little more attractive insofar as thinking about the likelihood of those trees surviving. Some of the, I'm talking more specifically about these larger trees that their buttress roots are right up against the edge of the existing bit concrete. Those are going to be problematic in the removal of the concrete, and then any inch you can gain, I think, would be beneficial to those trees.
All right, well, that seems like a reasonable approach to take.
Yeah.
Everyone
I've
agree?
got another, I'm sorry, I've got another idea too with respect to these problem roots. They're very localized. At least that's what I saw when I was taking a good hard look at that situation. Another possibility might be leave out some of the bricks where bricks would be placed over the hump, if you will, that's created by the roots, and infill that area with stone dust. Aesthetically not as nice. You lose that, if you're going to have a shoulder course if you do brick, and if your shoulder course, you'd be missing half a dozen bricks, 4 bricks, 3 bricks, whatever. But the point is, the thickness of a brick, I think it's about 2 3/4 inches. You take out the brick, you just infill that space with stone dust, and maybe that'll help the tree as well, versus lifting up the sidewalk to get over that hump, but lifting a whole area that, might extend 10 feet or more in each direction from the root.
I suspect that doing that or leaving the root exposed and elevated would probably not satisfy ADA guidelines.
I'm not sure about that though, Paul, because I mean, you would think a wheelchair is what, at the most, maybe 28 or 30 inches wide. And we're talking about pathways that are going to be 7 feet instead of 7, 8 or 7'10".
It creates a hazard, Bill, a tripping hazard.
Well, you just have to go into the middle. You just have to steer a little bit into the middle. I mean, I don't. You expect that someone from the ADA office in Boston is going to come out and inspect the job after it's done?
I don't doubt that it's a possibility. Yes.
I don't think someone from Boston will, but I understand there's an interested individual in town who's been out on projects over the years.
Yes, there's a gentleman that
He's
visited us
nodding
with
his
the
head
townhouse.
yes.
I know of whom you speak.
I don't know the person. I just know the person exists and has been. And likewise for the walkways and sidewalk that was done in front of the country store, I understood he came up and got interested in that project as well.
And, the town did hire a consultant to provide input on this, and, I'm sure that they are following it as well.
But my
I mean,
point
if
is
we can
to-
pick up, 3 or 4 inches on either side, to help protect the roots. I mean, here's your new walkway and
Yeah.
prevent people from walking off the walkway and tripping over an exposed root. That's not,
Right. I mean, and we're not talking about a major incursion. We're talking about a few inches. I would think it would probably
Yeah.
be acceptable.
So you guys are thinking maybe going down to like 7 feet, say, so it probably wouldn't even be noticeable. And then you gain 4 inches on either side.
thereabouts. That probably help a lot.
Is anyone
I-
on the committee opposed to that approach? I think we have everyone here.
I'm not.
I'm taking that as a no, since no one's speaking up.
Is John Stevens on?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
here.
So I think that's the way to go. And
If I
Phil,
might,
yeah,
sorry,
go ahead, Bill.
Paul.
Go
So what I'd like to offer is possibly discussing further with you, Jeff Walsh, some of your design concepts that you've mentioned there. We've worked on a number of sites where trees were included as design elements, and I think you're tending in the direction of leaving those roots intact, making them a part, but there's also a way I think to make them a part of the design where they're attractive, not functional, but more so than just leaving a bricked area open. We've worked with a number of contractors to come up with some creative designs there. So maybe there's opportunity for us to talk offline about that.
Okay, from my perspective, I'm just trying to make sure that when we get the plans revised, whatever we work out, it's clear to the contractor what they can do so that they can bid it
Understood.
appropriately.
Understood. And I can get you materials lists and schematics.
All right. Because we are on a bit of a tight timeline now, because we wanted to get the RFP out in January, which is right around the corner now at this point. All right. So on the root guard issue, so the one that
Well,
I believe,
Paul,
yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's one very important point I want to make sure Bill Standrup is aware of.
Okay.
This project and the plans that we have now consisted of removing the asphalt and the gravel base and replacing the gravel base. And that excavation would go down rough numbers 1.25 feet or so throughout the entire width and length of the sidewalk. So the discussion we had just eliminated that depth of 1.25 feet. Now we're talking about surface work, if you will. But the 3-foot depth is associated with trenching for the electric distribution system and power coming to the new electric panel, and then power going out to new lights. And that excavation is still going to be deep, but it's going to be trench excavation. And we've been talking about rerouting the trenches to minimize incursion, if you will, within root zones. But nevertheless, we can't eliminate this trenching. So there is still going to be trenching about 3 foot deep.
I understand, and I think there's opportunity to discover, based on your proposed trench lines, what impact that may have on structural roots. And if that can be moved around, if we discover structural roots in the direct path of the proposed conduit at the 36, well, once you get past 18 inches, I really don't care, because there aren't any roots past that point anyhow. So I think probably from my perspective, the easiest way to discover that would be to have those trench lines staked, and then an assessment of those trench lines be done, to discover if there are structural roots in the path. And there are ways to get around them, but I'll tell you, they're not cheap.
Okay. And what I'd like to do, rather than go out and stake the paths, what I'd like to do is take our plan without putting a lot of labor into it, rather than do a lot of CAD drafting. I want to take a felt tip marker and mark up what we're envisioning for the new routes and pass that along to you in the Historic District Commission and get your feedback on that. I think that will give you enough information. I'll try to have the plans so that you can see the tree locations and their drip lines, as well as the routes, the new electrical trench routes that we're going to do.
That sounds good. A hand-drawn plan, with a Sharpie showing your conduit, your trenches, I think will provide us with enough information.
Okay, I'll work that up in the next few days.
All right. Back to the root guard. So what we have been showing on the plans was like a 20-inch root guard. I assume it's on either side of the walkway. I think you said, Bill, that there may be some alternatives, as well as, the possibility that if the pathway isn't as wide, that it won't impact as much. So you're going to look into that piece too to get back to it?
I am, and so I think the CD set does include materials proposed for those root guards. Yes.
We have not a specific material. It's a few inches off the edge of the sidewalk. The root guard itself is shown to be 18 inches tall, and the top of it's about 2 inches below grade.
Okay.
It's something we've used elsewhere, but I'd certainly rely on any information you have as to eliminate it, not eliminate it, or what have you. I'm not too good with trees and such, Bill, but my read on this is it might work pretty good for smaller trees that are still growing, but the larger trees, it's futile.
Right. There are some materials available that are more porous and are designed to redirect the roots without themselves becoming problematic. They're not going to get pushed around. Those roots can push a root guard out pretty well. So let me do a little more investigation on my end. And so long as you haven't specified the material yet, okay, good. So I'll get back to everyone on that.
And then I guess the other thing, Bill, would be, based on, I believe the report that you gave us for tonight didn't take into account the revised plan. So if we could, I know there were some trees that were referenced talking about the change and not doing a huge amount of excavation. Could we get an update on, whether or not this revised approach would allow us to save some of these trees, some of these 12 trees that you've got earmarked for removal?
Yes, absolutely. And I had anticipated this evening's meeting to inform our report better, so that I was sure that the new design was as it had been changed to be. And so our new report will reflect our opinion and recommendations on the existing trees with the new design and what those recommendations would be. And I think, Paul, you started early on by saying that there are only 2 trees which we have indicated for removal regardless of construction or not. And now with the new design plans in hand, we're able to update that report to reflect those recommendations based on the minimal excavation that's going to occur in those root zones.
Okay, that would be awesome. Be really helpful.
Tree number 9 has already been removed.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too.
Yes, it was down.
All right. So anything else for Bill? Jeff, did you have what
I
you?
don't have anything else for Bill?
All right, so you two will connect outside of this meeting.
Certainly, certainly.
I look
Right.
forward to it, yes.
Great.
Bill, do you have Jeff's contact information?
I may.
I can send it. I can send it to you. or-
That would be helpful. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
I'm pretty certain I still have bills from some emails that went around a little while ago.
Okay.
I'll copy you both with each other, so.
Thank
Make sure
you.
that
Thank
have it. All right, so, just looking at, I'm just seeing if we need you guys for anything else. Anything else that you guys had for either Jeff or Bill?
Yeah, I've got something for you guys, I should say, but not Bill, once you're
All
done
right.
with Bill's thing.
All right, Mr. Stendrop, you're free to go.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Appreciate you coming out tonight, so to speak,
Thank you.
remotely.
Bye-bye.
So Jeff, go ahead, I guess.
I'd like to talk money, construction money.
All right.
Um, Last meeting, we talked a lot about the walkway surfaces, how much are they gonna cost? What are some of the alternatives? I know we all love concrete. So what I did was, I spent a little time today trying to get my head around the different cost numbers I've gotten from different people. And let me start by saying, I don't have any visuals, I don't have a spreadsheet yet, but I'm about to talk dollars and cents as far as how many dollars per square foot for the different materials to help the Historic District Commission understand, do you have enough money, do you think, for brick on the entire walkways? Or do we have to do some combination of materials because of the constraint of money? Let me start by saying at a 7 foot 8 inch wide walkway, the walkway's running north-south and the walkway's running east-west, including the walkways that extend outside the fence all the way to the concrete, the small concrete pads for the crosswalks. You're looking at about 4,200 square feet of sidewalk. So if we go down to 7 feet, we'll reduce it by a little bit there.
Our
Because
budget
you-
actually had it for 6,500, so that's well under what we had estimated.
Agreed. And I was concerned that I didn't do my math properly, and I had someone in our office take a quick look at that. And I can say with confidence, we're looking at 4,200 square feet.
And that includes the rebricking the part that's already brick by the bandstand?
No, that's about another 420 square feet.
All right,
So for
I
a
think-
total of about 4,600 square feet of walking surface.
Okay,
All right, so 4,600 square feet, give or take a little. Now, over the last, well, whatever, since our last meeting, the brick cost was a wild card to me. And we contacted a landscaping contractor that another individual in our office knows. That company does a lot of work privately and public bid. They quoted us like, I think it was $24 to $25. Don't write this one down yet. $24 to $25 a square foot. That includes installing excavating, installing a gravel base and so forth, but it does not include the brick. So I deducted for the gravel base. I tried to get a dollar value on brick. I threw $2 a square foot. I'm sorry, $2 a brick at it, which I think is high. That comes out to $8 a square foot just for the brick material. The short story, guys, brick is probably looking at $32 a square foot. That's once the asphalt is peeled out, that $32 a square foot would get you the stone dust leveling course and installation of the brick.
so that is installation and the material.
Correct.
So the way we had broken it out in our budget, we had labor for brick installation. We didn't have a unit price for it or quantity, but we had set aside $351,000.
Yeah.
And then for the cost of the brick, we had estimated $7 a brick or a foot, I guess. And set aside 45,500.
Yeah.
So I don't
No.
know how the math works on that.
It works very good in your favor. Brick is coming at about $147,000 instead of the 300 or something. Now, I'm comfortable with this source of information, the contractor, but nevertheless, I hate to have just one data point. And I looked up in Mass DOT and they've got a number that's very close for brick walkways. So now I'm getting a little more level of comfort that we're in the right ballpark for the cost of brick. Brick is the most expensive of the materials I looked at.
Which we knew going in, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Mhm.
It sounds like we're safe.
That's
Right.
what it feels like. That's what it
Yeah.
feels like. And back to the point of last month, you know, we still could structure the bid documents in such a way that there's an alternative. And the alternative is so many dollars per square foot to replace some, not all, but some of the brick with another material. And it would be a deduct alternate. And they'd have to do it based on, you know, the way we'd have to structure it is to say, okay, the way we're going to award the bid is whoever can give us the best bang for the dollar within a budget amount of X, whatever we have for X. And then if the base bid comes in and it's below X, the lowest bidder wins. If the base bid comes in and it's not below X, then we got to start applying the deduct. And we just got to be careful that we can't, there can only be one low bid winner. And I'm not sure, you know, what I'm worried about this is, I haven't given it a lot of thought yet, but you know, we got a unit price of, you know, let's say $1 a square foot and you start, I'm sorry, they tell us the dollar value. So you'd have to look at all the different bidders, their base bid, and then start subtracting out their unit rate for the deduct alternate. And I just want to make sure there's only one way to award determine the low bidder. Otherwise we put ourselves in jeopardy.
So given where we are with the budget, do we need to do a deduct alternate? I mean, I think everybody wants to do brick and it looks like technically we can do brick and it looks like economically we can do brick as well. So I'm not sure, are we just going to muddy the waters if we have a deduct alternate in here that we don't necessarily want to do?
I'd rather not do the deduct alternate because it's a lot more work and you're right. It looks like we don't need it. But the Historic District Commission has a better handle on the numbers. I'm hoping that maybe after tonight, you might be able to look at all the numbers that have come in since the original budget was put together a while ago and get a feel for, are you close to the budget limit or are you very comfortable?
So far, on the things that we've actually had numbers come in, we've been either pretty much right on or we've budgeted more than what it actually was going to cost. So
Excellent.
we purposely tried to include some fudge factor in there. And we, you know, past experience has been that, you know, if we try to go in with what we think is going to come back, we never have enough money.
Always have to have contingency.
Agreed. And that was a good way to do it, Paul. And like Don Graves used to tell us, when we put construction cost estimates together, Graves Engineering doesn't want to be the low bidder.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, again, numbers come out to about 147,000. We're gonna reduce the walkways by, you know,
8 inches.
0.67 divided by 7. 0.67 divided by 7.67. We're going to reduce it by about 8.7%. You know, so times 147. So we might be looking at about, my math is right, about 128,000 instead of 147,000. Still in the same ballpark, but again, we're getting better.
Yeah.
So that was comforting to me that we had two sources of information and they were very close. And then when I checked the budget in the, it was put together years ago, we're well below it. I can go on with the unit prices for the other materials if you want, just so you have them available. I looked at the thermoplastics, like what's out at the, out on the crosswalks. The thermoplastic itself installed is about $17 to $18 a square foot. So it's pricey. When you add in the asphalt that's gonna go below it, I figured in 3 inches of asphalt, the thermoplastic is running $22.40 a square foot.
What did you say for brick?
$32 even, Bill,
Okay,
per square foot.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get out of the high rent district and go to the low rent district. Regular asphalt's the lowest. That came in at $4.40 a square foot to place 3 inches of asphalt.
wow,
If we went with concrete with a brush finish, like you would see, out at the wheelchair ramps, you're looking at about $7.22 a square foot. That number came from Mass DOT for their concrete. They do that on the square yard. I converted the square feet. That wasn't hard. And that's also, we carry some numbers on a cubic yard and I crunch those back to square foot and we're in the same ballpark there. And then lastly, the other material we talked about was colored asphalt. We actually buy impregnate powder, colored powder. You got to get it from wherever, bring it to the asphalt plant, dump it in the batching plant. I figured that only the top course has to get colored. The coloring material is very expensive. That's about that almost doubles the asphalt price. I figured in some labor for somebody to handle that material, get it shipped from wherever, shipping costs. But colored asphalt's about $7.70 a square foot. Again, these are rough numbers, but at least it gives us a better place to start from compared to where we were at last month.
well, thank you for giving us all the term.
You're welcome. Well, I want to put it to rest once and for all.
So given the pricing on the brick and what we've budgeted, I think Jeff asked a question that, do we want to forego the alternative, excuse me.
What was the budget number again, Paul, for the brick?
So the way you'd have to combine the two numbers we have. So if you combine the labor for the brick installation and the cost of the brick, we've budgeted $396,500. And he's saying that but for this less wide, you're talking around, I think he said 127,000, Jeff.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, let's round to 130.
And that's an apples to apples comparison for the budget number?
The numbers I just gave you for square foot for the different materials isn't apples to apples.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
Part of the difference, John, is that the actual square footage that we have is less than what we had budgeted for. And then we had budgeted on the high end.
Right, no, I get all that. I'm just, from a scope standpoint and a material standpoint, if we're at 126 now, based on a reduced width of the pathway, and we budgeted 396, and doing an alternate,
There's no point.
the waters, I personally don't see why we would do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Alternate.
And plus it would cost us extra for Jeff to do all that extra work too, so.
I mean, if the margins were close, it would be a whole nother story, but
Right.
it's not close.
Our expert is shaking his head, yeah, we don't need it. I see him over there. Looks very comfortable in his easy chair over there.
It's conceivable that
I think
the
you're,
brick we chose are a little bit more expensive, but still, we're probably only talking a couple $1,000s.
Right.
I would like to revisit the idea of having an 8-foot wide walkway, but that would taper in, because there's only a couple of trees that are going to require some additional space for roots is probably what, 2 or 3 trees like that. Maybe we could just bring it down to 7 feet for those trees, and then the rest of the pathways are 8, because I think we'll all agree that a wider path is better than a narrower path.
Yeah, but I don't think an 8-inch difference when you're talking 7 feet 8 versus 7 would even be really noticeable to people. And if that extra few inches enables us to save more trees, I think it'd be well worth it.
Well, my feeling is that we would taper it down when you go by the trees, and the rest of the time it would be actually slightly wider at 8 feet, because we've got the money for it. And it would be, I think, more appealing to have it a little bit wider rather than narrower.
I'm just looking at the original map he gave us with all the trees. There's trees, like if you're talking north to south, it's almost the whole length other than right around the bandstand. To me, it might look kind of odd going different widths in and out rather than just having a consistent width.
I think it may not even stand out that much. Run it all down nice and straight, but where we do step them all in the same amount. And it may not have to be at every tree that you step them in, just certain one.
Well, I
Yeah.
can pose that question to Bill. I'm going to send him an email with the contact information for Jeff anyways. So I'll ask him to provide some input on that.
Yeah. Let me ask this, sometime in the near future, would you guys want to go out and take a look at the trees, take a look at the walkways? And just let me know, hey, we think we want to step in the sidewalk X number of inches at tree number 2, tree number 17, whatever.
Great idea, Jeff. Great idea.
And I'm just thinking again, for what I want, what I've got to do is the fewer times we put somebody on the plans, the less money. Not that we get a lot of heavy lifting, but if I can just get into this and basically one round of edits, send the revised plans to you guys for one last look at, and then one round of what I'd expect to be minor revisions. That's my goal, just to make this very efficient.
Good goal.
John Shepherd has already indicated from his end that if I can clearly show him what's going on, he doesn't foresee any heavy lifting on his end either.
Good.
It's going to take us some time with all the details. We've got to start drawing around each one. But it's not terrible. It's just, it's time. It's time.
All right.
Well, do we want to try to take a few minutes over the weekend and walk up there and look at it as a committee and come to a consensus so we can let Jeff know?
Yeah, I'd like that.
Yep. Let me know. Yep, let's go with the 7'8" that I'm recommending now based on my measurements of the existing asphalt. 8 foot if you want 8 foot. 7'6", 7'4", whatever you want to do. 7'0", and again, my recommendation would be that if you're going to go as wide as you can, I'd stick with the 7'8", which is your existing asphalt, as I know it today. Yeah, and then maybe you'll find that where you've got roots, you can step in 6 inches or a foot on either side, and no harm, no foul, and you do that in whatever the locations. It might come out looking pretty nice. And again, stone dust on the outside of where the brick is, just to level it so everything's smooth right to the roots where they protrude out of the ground.
Yeah, well, I would suggest we go up there as a committee and look and try to visualize, and then from there come to a consensus and let Jeff know.
Yeah, good. I'm free both days, Saturday and Sunday, so.
If you go there and you're gonna make a decision, you have to post a meeting now, so
I was just about to say that.
don't do that.
Only if we
Well, we
have,
can go up and look. We don't have to make a decision.
If we have a quorum,
Right.
then we have to post it. So I don't have a problem posting if we know when we want to do it. We can certainly do that.
I'm around all week, so.
Yeah, me too.
I'm around all weekend.
All right, I'll send an email out seeing what everyone's available schedule looks like and what the weather looks like too. I don't want to be up there. It's going to be miserable.
Saturday's supposed to be nice, Sunday's supposed to rain, I think.
All right, so Saturday looks. So morning time, guys. Get it done with fairly early,
Sure.
Doesn't matter.
maybe like 9 or 10 at the
Yeah.
latest. All right. Anyone have a preference, 9 or 10 Saturday?
Doesn't matter.
Let's go with
7
9.
o'clock for coffee?
No. No, it's a
9
Saturday.
o'clock, so I can still get to the dump.
All right, Bill,
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to post that if you want me to, or you can certainly do it however
Sure.
you want.
Like, go ahead.
All right. Um, you know what? I'm thinking that we can't post it for Saturday because I don't think Saturday counts as a day that it's visible. It has to be on a weekday, and we're already past 5 on Thursday. Actually, noon on
Oh,
Thursday.
that's right.
So we can't do
It's
it.
Friday, basically, yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to do it next week if we're going to post it, or the alternative is we go up there separately. Or, so that we don't have a quorum, maybe a group of us go up at 9 and another group go up at 9:30, and then compare notes afterwards.
Could I make a suggestion to that point, Paul?
Certainly.
Go up individually or in small groups not to reach a quorum. But tomorrow, schedule a meeting for sometime next week so you can deliberate. The purpose of your site visit is just to look and gather information, not deliberate. You still have to deliberate to give me direction and post a meeting for that next week, that the Historic District Commission can come to a consensus.
It's a good idea. Does that sound good?
Yep, absolutely.
So we'll all go up on our own whenever
Mhm.
over the weekend, and then I'll post something for early next week. Is there a particular day that's better for folks than others? So next week will be Monday's the 16th.
Our regular meeting would be on Thursday.
Correct.
Do we want to wait that long? Jeff, the sooner you get it, the better, or?
No, that's not holding me up.
Okay, all right, well, let's just do that. We already got a meeting scheduled for,
Okay, so we'll discuss it on Thursday. Nice meeting.
Great.
I'll have to let you know, I'm not going to be around on Thursday.
all right, well, you can share your thoughts with Bill and then he can share them. So Bill, you'll post it then since it's a regular meeting?
Yep.
Okay,
And you won't need me next Thursday night, right?
no, you just want whatever we decide, right?
You got it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Anything else that you have, Jeff, or anyone has for Jeff?
I have nothing else.
Well, thank you again for
I
your
will-
time. Oh,
You're
you're at
welcome.
work.
Thank you. I will mark up that plan, and probably not tomorrow, but very early next week. Get it to Bill, and I will CC you, Paul, as well, so you can distribute to the commission.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Good night.
Jeff.
Good night, Jeff. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. So maybe, all right, if we jump to the lights,
Yep. Is there anything else other than the lights that we need to discuss tonight?
I have some stuff for Andy. Maybe we talk to Andy first so we don't hold him up, and well, is there anything else for Paul too? Or
That's
does
what I'm,
Paul have anything?
Paul C., do you have anything?
Have nothing reporting same.
So I have one question for you, Paul. Is there any, I know some of these trees are, the two that I mentioned, they're not even, the removal isn't even due to this project. Is there any money in your tree removal budget to assist with any of the cost of these if we should prove to need it?
On the maple, I can't remember the number, I just put that paper away, but the one that's the top is missing. The DPW staff could easily cut that one down. There's no overhead wires. It's on the west side, and they just drop it over there and clean up the mess. So at least that one. I have to look at the other one and see where its location is and
The other ones that he had listed, where did I put my list? I don't think were very big.
How big around is that one, Paul?
That was a
Probably
big one.
No, it's probably 12 inches diameter, but the whole top is missing, so it wants to go to the left anyway, so.
Do you remember what number that one was, Paul?
Don't, hold on.
Well, there's a number 3 is about, there's a red maple, it's 18 inches. I think you're talking about number 12, it's dead, right? Was it 12?
12, it says not healthy. It says it's 10 inches. So 12 is, it's along the path. It's actually close to the tree you just removed. It's just further down towards the south. It's the next tree south of that one. Right along.
I'll take this list to go up there tomorrow and look around, but
Okay.
I think that number 3, it says 18 inches, that either way, it may be that big, but,
Yeah, I think you're talking 3 where the top is and there's rot.
Yeah. and that needs to go, and that shouldn't be an issue for us to cut down.
And 12, which is again right behind 9 that you already removed, that one is 10 inches. And then the
I think
other,
16 is the one that's dead already.
I went through, she's got 2, 16 and 12. 16 is a 7-inch tree, and that again, it has nothing to do with the project. It's just not healthy, and they suggest removing it. And then tree 12, which is 10 inches. All right, yeah, if you can give some thought to that, Paul. Obviously we have budget. We probably didn't budget enough for it, but we do have contingency to cover it. But part of what we were trying to do to keep the cost down was to leverage town services where we could. So
Okay, no, so 16, 12, and 3. I'll take a walk around tomorrow. and,
Okay.
If they're not a problem, we'll do it.
excellent.
Right.
All right, then Andy, did you have any input from the telecommunications folks yet?
I spoke with them. They said that the fiber does in fact run through the common, and that they would be getting me a copy of the route, so we would know exactly where it goes. So I'll give them another nudge tomorrow and ask them again for that route.
Okay. So I saw you sent a picture that a pole went up
Yes.
for the
Yep.
library, but there are 2 that are going in, right? So there was that one, and then there was the one that was being moved.
Yep. So both of those poles are in. The one that was moved actually isn't being moved. It's just being replaced. So the new one is in, and the existing one hasn't been taken out yet.
Okay.
They've been, on and off around the common doing work. They were there today doing some stuff again. So both of those new guide wire poles are in, but they still need to continue to finish their work over there.
Okay. Have you had a chance to bend the temporary TA's ear about the project?
I've included some information about this project in my weekly reports. Just sort of progress from these meetings and some of the preliminary results. So he's aware of what I'm doing. I haven't spoken to him in person at all, but he gets my weekly construction reports, and I've given him a little nugget of what we're doing here. So he's about as up to.
So we're going to have a couple of contracts that we're going to need him to sign off on. We have the one for Hammerworks, where we're taking out the 4 lanterns that'll be needed for the archways. And then we'll also have the one for Mott Ironworks to construct the archways.
So I can give him a heads up. Whenever we think it's coming, I can give him a heads up ahead of time so he knows to expect it.
And then we have the RFP too. So do you think it's getting close to time to start meeting for the RFP piece, or are we still a little ways out?
It sounds like we'll, when the design work gets updated, he's going to get some of the bid documents together as well. And then I think there's not probably a lot of meeting that has to happen with. When he's got his bid documents together, I'll get the front together for the town bidding piece of that, and then we'll just basically make one package out of it.
Okay. What kind of lead time do you think we would need with him on getting contracts approved? for like Hammerworks and for Mott Ironworks. I can tell you amounts. The one for Mott Ironworks, wrote it down. Hold on. I had written it down. I don't know what I did with a piece of paper. It's under 12,000. It's 11,000, like 900 and something.
I haven't had to work directly with him yet. None of this stuff is big money, and we have funds for it, and that's usually the biggest issue, right? Is where's the money coming from? So we already have an. I don't think that. I think this is going to be pretty rote. I think we can. If we get it ready for him, we'll be able to explain it to him. And he'll be able to sign it. I don't think it's going to be.
That just, thank you. That just made me think of another thing, Mr. Canoyer. With regard to the trees, you had mentioned having a public hearing. It's one thing when it's a tree that's unhealthy and needs to be removed, like the ones we were just talking about. But as far as removal of the other trees as part of the construction, we'll need to have a hearing for that?
I guess it depends what it comes down to. I mean, most of it, we'll see which ones they turn out to be. The ones that they have labeled as poor need to come down. Obviously, as we discussed before, you don't need anybody's permission for that. We should be doing it as soon as possible. So,
all right. So we'll know better after we have the additional input from it.
Yeah, once we know exactly what we have to do, then we'll.
Okay. All right.
And as far as the procurement stuff of the lights and the iron, it just goes back to what we talked about last week. They're designing around those pieces. So like whatever the exact terminology is for that. There is no, you don't have another option for that light. The only place you can get it is the guy that's making it. So It's just getting that wording in the procurement part of it. So.
Right. Okay. One other thing for Andy with the posts, how we were talking about needing to drill a hole through one for each entry. Have you given that any thought?
Have, and I talked to one of the masons that I'm working with at the library job site right now. He said because you need to be coming straight down with conduit, and then it's something that's going to need to turn to get out of that. He said trying to drill something like that is going to be next to impossible. He definitely thought that cutting a groove into the side of it, where you can run conduit up the inside in the groove, so you wouldn't really necessarily see it. He said that was much more plausible way to approach that, and it would be relatively not invisible, but it certainly wouldn't be super.
Right.
Would you fill in the groove once you put the conduit in?
Good. I don't. I'm not sure. I think you'd want to cut the groove, put the pipe in, and then see what it looks like. And maybe you do. Maybe you get some kind of grout that's close to.
Right.
Go with that.
Why would it need to bend rather than go straight through? A hole drilled straight through the post.
Well, if it's going from the top of the post all the way straight down, all the way through the bottom, I'm not even sure you could drill a hole that far through that dimension of stone. I don't think you'd get it
Because it's
long.
too wide, you mean? Because I saw posts that are they look like they're at least 6 feet tall that they've drilled through. You can buy them pre-drilled.
You'd need a drill bit that.
It's obviously a specialty. But yeah.
Be expensive. And what happens if they screw up and you have to buy another post?
Well, which brings up an interesting point. I was looking at our budget again, and I noticed that Nick had actually budgeted for 8 new posts. He budgeted almost $13,000 for us to do that. So even if we don't use new posts, we can use that money towards whatever we need to do to get the wire up through it.
Right. Yeah, you'd spend some money saw cutting some joints into those posts, but you'd have to move them, saw cut them, the groove into them, and then reinstall them. So there's a little bit of money you'd be spending, but you wouldn't be spending the same as if you were buying new posts.
I think, John,
So what-
Stephen, you had concerns with if we were to buy new posts, that it'd be very hard to match them.
Well, you would just want to make sure they match. That's not always the easiest thing to do.
It's something pink. I forget the name of that granite. Something pink.
Milford pink.
Milford
Milford
pink.
pink.
Why isn't it Grafton pink?
It's Grafton's green.
So do we know how long those posts are? How far into the ground they go?
I don't. I
The
don't know.
existing ones?
Paul may know because they've had to replace them or knock, the ones that fall over, pick them back up.
I don't know. I can find out tomorrow though. I'll
I mean, does it make sense just to take them out and drill the hole through?
Yeah, I think that even.
Because I'm not liking the idea of the channel personally.
Yeah, I just don't think that you can, I don't think that it's possible to drill a hole that you're going to run conduit through that. I mean, I can do a little bit more digging to see if it's possible. I just don't know that it is. If it's a 6 foot long stone piece, I don't know that somebody can drill a hole there.
I know
I'm
you
not-
can buy them. Like I said, there are lamp posts out there that are granite that have the hole pre-drilled. So somebody can do it, but it's probably not a lot of places that can do it.
Well, if he does do a channel, it's only on one, it's not on both. And as he said, maybe you could cover it over with something. It would really be very noticeable and probably be much less expensive.
Yeah, kind of like what they do on sidewalks with the joints, the seams. They put some kind of a material that's like a gray color that kind of fills it in. You know what I'm talking about?
I'll dig it. I'll keep looking.
Expansion joint or whatever you call it.
I don't think it would be noticeable if we had to cut a groove.
Yeah, well, it's a good detail to try and nail down.
Yep, I agree.
All right. So I think that's all we had. I guess we don't, as long as you're getting the project in front of Mr. Terenzini, right? Is that I think Terenzini? I think that's how you pronounce it.
So the only question I had, and it's unrelated to the comment, but Andy, you'd sent the cut sheet on the lights for the library.
Right.
Everybody looked at those?
Yes.
Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you, John, for bringing that up.
I wasn't done yet. I was going to make sure we talked about it because I've got something in the library too.
I might as
Bring it
well.
up on us. At least
Might as well talk about it now, Andy. Well, you got the floor.
So that's a pretty modern looking light for sure. One of the things I wanted to just bring to this committee's attention is that there is a lot of discussion about some donor opportunities to upgrade some of the things about the exterior of the library, whether it's lighting, which is one of those things that could happen, or whether it's landscaping. But I wanted to talk to you all just to, just raise that possibility that there's still some work to do out there that may happen. That sounds like it probably will happen. And I want to be able to keep you all involved and make sure that we're getting your input on all this stuff, whether it's light fixtures or lighting or landscaping. We're going to have landscaping, for instance, we're going to have a sort of a big picture meeting in the next couple of weeks with the landscape architect. The gardens out front of the library were all taken out for utility work. And so they have to be replanted. They was part of the project bought out, replacing all that, but they want to go with more native, local species instead of necessarily what was there. But there's no planting plan yet. So before the landscape architects take a shot at all that stuff, I wanted to see I wanted to have them look at everything around the whole building, because there's some other places that haven't been designed yet that I think they should take a look at. So more of a holistic view across this whole thing. If some people are going to be donating money to provide for more gardens and things like that, I want them to look at this in a big picture sense, but I also want them to be aware of what your particular concerns might be about landscaping. So things like those hedges have to stay. If somebody suggested that they go, which nobody has, is that absolutely forbidden? So, or at some point somebody said something about raised vegetable gardens and that they couldn't be seen from the street. I'm just really interested to be able to get your biggest concern so that when we go to sit down with the landscape architect, I can sort of set things in the right perspective for them before they put pencil to paper.
Where
All
do they
raised concern with
propose
the
the
raised gardens.
raised bed?
All right, wanted to.
I'll go first. So I believe we did raise some concern with the raised beds just because they are so visible where they were planned, right along 140 there. So we were wondering whether there was going to be any kind of barrier so that they wouldn't stand out as much.
Plus, they were increasing the number of them as well, as I recall.
Right. Yep.
Is there a reason why they couldn't be on the far side, the South Street side of the building, the south side?
A lot of wetland over there.
No, or no light.
Right, no light, no
So
space. Right.
What was that, Andy?
Really no space over there, and the light isn't as good either. It's just not a very good. It's not a very conducive for that kind of plant.
Just looking at it to be aesthetically pleasing, I think.
Sure. Well, that's kind of why I've asked the landscape architects to come out. We're going to do a walk around the whole property, talk big picture about some of this stuff, so that they can get a better sense for what's there, what the opportunities are, and what the concerns are. So again, I definitely want to keep involved in all this stuff. I want to get your input on it, because as they start to formulate even just some ideas, I want them to know whether they're going down the right.
I remember one concept drawing they had provided, and the gardens looked wild. It almost looked like tumbleweeds going. It was just, it wasn't very attractive, for lack of a better word.
Could it be
I
done?
think that's early on, right? I think we never
Yes.
had.
Well, they said they were going to come back, but they were going to take our input into consideration.
Yeah. Well,
Could it be done like a period herb garden or something that like it's Sturbridge where it looks more planned, organized, and controlled rather than like at the entrance of the library they have right now? It's just kind of a jumble of stuff and old furniture and this, that, and the other. So that it's more in keeping with the common. They can still have the plants, but just do it at a more formalized.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. If there's some, I think it sounds like there could be some decent money behind this, and that's why I want them to have a professional design that takes all this stuff into consideration.
Yep. I had a question relative to the parking lot lighting. So there were some lights that were put in there. I don't recall us having input on them. They're really, really tall.
There's been no lights installed yet. I mean,
No. These were done when they expanded the parking lot before the construction.
I think we did because it was all about how bright it was and it couldn't be too bright. And, it's been quite some time. But we did have some discussion about it.
I just didn't remember the design. So those are staying, obviously. So you're probably going to mirror that design, or?
There's no lights that were on site that still exist right now. Anything that was there for the old parking lot is long gone.
So are you thinking something along the lines of the lighting that we're putting on the common?
No, it's more like what was there already.
Is that the cut sheet that you sent us?
I think the cut sheet is in the one I just sent you was for was on the exterior of the building.
it was, or it's what's planned for the exterior of the new building?
And for the exterior of the new building.
You're breaking up, Andy. I can't hear you.
Sorry, what I sent is for the, what's planned for the exterior of the building.
Very contemporary.
Yes.
Yeah. And where on the building are these going? I can't even envision where these would go.
Yeah, I thought, maybe I didn't send the plan. There's a plan that shows that I think there's 5 of them on the exterior of the building. They're at the sort of, there's a handful of exterior doors, and that's generally where they are.
So is there any opportunity for having the parking lot lights be something more akin to what we've been looking at on the common? I mean, going with something like Sternberg Lighting had originally proposed to us?
Well, the parking lot lighting has to perform. It has to meet certain lighting criteria. It has to have certain cutoffs. It has to have certain, amount of light
Lumens.
that's hitting the. So I don't know that those kind of lights would actually perform correctly in the parking lot.
Might be worth looking
They
at,
do have,
see if they could.
These
I
lights
think
for
there are some period appropriate lights that might be larger and brighter than the ones that we're spec'ing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there were a
might
bunch
be.
of options on the Sternberg Lighting one. They had a bunch of different options for the amount of lumens that you could have put it out. We didn't want ones that were as bright. There were ones that were considerably brighter.
Yeah, I mean, certainly can look at them. One of the things about the ones that have been selected is they are designed to have cutoffs, so they only shed light on the property and not beyond.
And they only submitted one option? This one that you sent us?
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about 2 different things. The one you sent us, the 5
Yeah.
that's on the outside of the building,
Right.
those are, there's only 5 of them. They're not as conspicuous. I don't like the looks of them, but like I said, they're smaller and less conspicuous. The others, they're quite noticeable, and there's probably how many would there be poles in the driveway?
Offhand, there's probably 10 or 12 of them, I think, in total. Yeah.
But I think that they need to, if they're not identical, they need to be in the same design family. Otherwise, it's going to look really weird. To have period lighting in the parking lot, and then boom, when you're walking the building, you have these little spaceships.
I think this needs to be revisited, personally. I'm not a fan of these lights for the exterior of the building, and I agree with John Stevens that whatever is going to end up in the parking lot should complement what's going to be on the building.
Yep.
I mean, if you look throughout the common, the lights that we're putting in, throughout the district, I should say, the lights we're putting in the common are pretty much in line with like the Congregational Church, the townhouse.
Yeah.
Right.
Library would be another corner where it'd be nice to have a match. Or close.
Andy,
Yep. No, I don't.
those 5 Frisbee lights there on the building, is that a done deal? Is it possible to change those?
Frisbee lights.
I don't believe it's a done deal. No, I mean, I know that that's what's been approved, but I don't think they've been purchased. So we could still, I think there's still an opportunity to do something else. And again, my bigger concern is the parking lot lights. Those are so specific in terms of the way that they perform. I'm just nervous about about another product that we might be asking it to do something that it can't do. But I'm certainly open to, if there's something else that looks more of a period appropriate that can do the same thing. I haven't seen that, but maybe it could exist.
Yeah. A coach lantern design.
How can they approve and move forward with the lighting if we haven't approved it?
Yeah.
They understand that, and that's one thing that I really have a problem with the architects is they feel like they're driving the bus, and we have to really pull in the reins a lot because they get
Right
on their own little path.
Right,
And I
they
don't
get
think
a role.
that's,
Yep.
that they're not taking into consideration what we want or what we like, or what we think is appropriate. It's, and to give us one choice. That's, I don't have I mean, that's not my favorite light either, but give me more than one choice. That's,
I agree, John.
Okay, well, I'm, this was on our agenda for the construction meeting that, and with the meeting with the architects on Tuesday. I told them I'd be talking with you guys tonight. I'm going to bring it back on Tuesday and tell them, we've got to do some more. So that's, I'm going to bring, that's why I'm here. So we can talk about this stuff and I can
Great.
take it back to the team. And if the architects need to, come up with a couple more options and come up with something else, then that's what they'll do.
Great. Thank you. That's good.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome. So just back to the landscaping for a second. I mean, we are going to have a kickoff meeting. It hasn't been scheduled yet, but it's for some time, hopefully before the end of the month, or maybe the first week in December. What would you recommend? What's the best approach to that? Is there, we're going to have a meeting on site with the landscape architect to talk about big picture stuff and what they might want to design. What's the best way for me to bring your concerns to them? Is it somebody from this group that can be there, or is there something you can provide me with so I can sort of give them a heads up, or how would you like me to proceed with that?
When is it that this is happening?
Hasn't been scheduled yet. I'm trying to get it done in the next couple of weeks.
this is the fundraising committee that's doing.
No, the fundraising committee is behind it, right? So they're trying to raise funds, and they've got some people that would like to provide some funding for some additional gardens, some additional exterior work, whether it's upgraded landscaping, additional gardens, lighting, things like that. So it's very conceptual right now. So that but the first thing we want to do is to get the landscape architect on site so we can do a little brainstorming, talk about what some of the potential things that could be done are, and then start to define them.
How about a joint meeting?
Yeah.
Yep, I agree with that.
It's probably going to be during daytime, during regular working hours is the thing. At least that's that was.
I mean, I would think somebody from the committee should be able to support that meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's during regular work hours, that may be the easier approach to have a
I'd
representative.
be there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm certainly gonna, as soon as I get a date, I'll let you guys know, and we can figure out how to do that. But it's again, it's in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and it's to talk concepts first. But that's the time to be able to get some of your input into the mix there.
Yeah, good.
Oh, and can I just add one thing on that when you're talking about plantings and everything else? Just remember that, the DPW is going to be stacking snow that's laden with salt. And, we don't know where it'll end up depending how that parking lot configures. So whatever you guys, besides the plantings around the plowed areas, just remember that anything that's salt susceptible or bigger and, looking at it, holistically, like this is where we're going to put the snow.
Right.
Don't, try to keep that in mind as well.
Certainly will. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. I think that's all I have for the library.
All right. You guys are welcome to stay for discussion of the lights if you want, but I did get quotes from Hammerworks. Let me just find it. So if you recall, our budget is $36,800 for lighting. We did reduce the number of lights from 10 streetlights to 6, which saved a little bit of money, but we also, we have the archway lights too. So there's 4 of those. So we still have 10 lights, 6 posts. The quote that we had gotten from, give me one second, from Sternberg Lighting was, trying to find the exact amount. I didn't write down the actual amount, but at any rate, we have two quotes from Hammerworks, and one is for the New Bedford light. Did you guys get the photos that I had sent?
Yeah.
So the New Bedford light is the one that the picture actually shows it like it would be with the metal on the top. Of course, it would be painted black. The cost for that, for all the lights and the posts, would, including tax, would be $25,872. That is
We don't pay tax.
because we're a town buying it. That's true. I didn't even think of that. So, all right. So take 6.25% off of that. I don't know if I wrote down the amount before the tax. I can figure it out and send it to you. At any rate, it is only about $2,200 over what Sternberg Lighting was going to charge us. And these lights are, instead of aluminum, they're copper and brass. They're handmade, which allows us to customize the hanging ones that we need for the archways. They include CD glass. So it's the old-fashioned looking glass, so it's kind of wavy looking. It includes a chimney inside of it. It's the same lumens as the other one. It's a LED bulb that goes into it. And the other one was the Boston Post light. And that one is with tax, again, we'll have to take the tax out, was just over $28,000. So it was about $2,000 more for that light. And, you know, it's still well under our budget of 36,880. So both of them are certainly feasible from a cost perspective. The New Bedford is, again, probably about $2,000 less. So I'm just looking for direction from you guys and which light you prefer to go with. The New Bedford one is, to me, a little bit more a traditional coach lantern. The Boston Post one, even though it's a historic design, to me is a little bit different. And we, unfortunately, I don't have a picture of that one in with the top being metal. They would customize it to have a metal top, just like the other
So
one.
the attachments that you sent to us in the email, the first one at the very top, that's the New Bedford.
That's the New Bedford, yes. The first two pictures are the New Bedford. The second two pictures are the Boston Post light.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question. I don't know if I misheard, but early on, are you saying that you're proposing for the New Bedford, for the top part of that's up metal, to be painted black?
The whole light would be painted black to match the post. The post is black. That's the way they come.
Why not just let it be copper and let it age?
Yeah. Because when you look at the picture of the building below it, that has a black top.
Yeah, you could go that route too. There's different finishes that you can have on it. If you go onto their site, you can see the different finishes they have. They have some that are more, if you are familiar with the lanterns that are on the front of the townhouse and behind it. That is more of an unfinished, but it's a darker color. It's not like a shiny copper. It's more weathered, grayish looking. Yeah, we could go that route, or you could paint it to match. The quote I got was to paint it to match, and I don't think that was an additional charge. So I think it wouldn't impact the cost. I can confirm that, but I don't think it would.
I mean, I think we can make those decisions probably a little further down the line if we want to. I like the New Bedford style better than the Boston style.
Yeah, me too.
And the New Bedford one does not have that extra little piece of glass between the top and the bottom.
Correct.
Is that okay? Yeah, that looks kind of awkward to me. I don't think I like that one.
I was of the same opinion as you guys.
We agree on the New Bedford. That's good.
All right, so I'll look at the different finishes. I'll try and send you guys some information with the different finishes. We can talk about that next week.
Yeah,
When
No, no.
we meet. We don't have to make a final decision right now, but at least as far as the lighting for the archways, we will want to do that. We don't want to wait until we have a general contractor. We want to, get Mott Ironworks hired and working on the archways, and Hammerworks working on the lighting for that, so that when it comes time to put them in, we're not waiting for them. There's got to be more lead time for those pieces, which is why I'm suggesting carving them out. All right.
Okay.
That's good. And again, they're both, will still be well under budget on that too. This is, I think, the first project I've been involved with where we're coming in under budget on stuff. Knock on wood.
Well, yeah, knock on
Don't
wood.
jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Yeah. Yeah. What else do we need to discuss?
The only other thing I had a question for you is on the polls. There are things you can have them include if you're interested. You could have them with a flag holder or banner brackets if you wanted to have banners, and which I don't think we'd want to have in the common, but a flag holder, maybe we would. You can actually also have them with some kind of a ladder attachment, which I think would look awkward. So they can put a ladder. I think you just bring a step ladder in and you're good. Change bulbs or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. The kids would just screw around with it.
And you guys aren't interested in flag holders, having like American flags on the posts in there?
Yeah.
Don't do anything for me.
No, I don't.
I think
Just figure
it's
out, check. Now's the time to get.
Another maintenance item that you'll
Yeah.
put down the road.
That's a very good point, Jeff.
They
Okay.
weren't there originally.
Right. All right. Well, good. I think that's all I had.
Okay, well, I'll post next week's meeting. And
And we should all get up to the common over the next
Yeah.
few days.
some the next week.
And I'll send a note to Jeff and Bill with contact information. And I'll let Bill know that we're thinking about that as an alternative approach to just making it less wide. And that way he can give us his thoughts on that as well.
Good. Thank you, Paul Canoy, for joining us.
Yeah. If he's still
Popped
on.
off.
Yeah, he dropped off.
Yeah, don't blame him.
All right.
Anything else?
Good.
Oh, the only other thing was our minutes. I did submit them, but we could wait to next week if you want. Although now we have another set. We already have 2 sets from our last 2 meetings.
We need to approve them tonight?
Well, we could. I mean, we've had them. We passed over the last week's or 2 weeks ago. Passed over it to do it tonight. But then we also have the one from the last meeting. Or we could wait and do presumably 3 sets.
I haven't had an opportunity to read them.
All right. So just pass over until next
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah.
All right. I'll try to get the set from tonight out as soon as I can.
I'll get
I did resend them today, so you should have the other 2.
Closing out?
I don't have anything else, so someone wants the motion to adjourn.
I want to make a motion to,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So declare that motion passed and we'll adjourn at 8:32.